Welcome to my YouTube channel. Asterisk, you think kings lived glamorous lives? Wrong. There was one medieval ruler whose body literally ate itself alive. By the final years of his life, he was so swollen with infection that fluid leaked from his legs like boiling tar. His servants refused to stand near him without soaking their clothes in vinegar first. The smell? So rotten that foreign ambassadors demanded meetings outdoors because they could not breathe inside the palace. This king had ulcers so deep doctors could see bone, and they still had to bow to him while he screamed at them. And the most disturbing part, his royal bed had to be burned every 3 months because maggots kept crawling out of the mattress from his open wounds. Imagine ruling a kingdom when your own body had already begun decomposing. Imagine being feared by millions while you were slowly rotting alive. You've heard of beauty routines, but nothing like this. One empress believed the secret to eternal youth was bathing in the blood of young girls. She kept a secret chamber beneath her palace where her guards delivered victims at night. The walls were stained so permanently red that even after her death, workers couldn't scrub it off with acid. She insisted the blood be fresh, so her maidservants slit throats on the spot while she stood naked in marble tubs, a key humming hymns. Her skin became pale, rubbery, stretched thin like wax, a side effect that only made her obsession worse. When her crimes were uncovered, the court was so horrified they bricked her alive inside her bedroom and left her to starve. But for weeks after, guards swore they heard water dripping. Even though there was no bath anymore in 1518, K French village experienced something so bizarre, historians still argue about it. One woman suddenly began dancing uncontrollably in the street. Then 10 joined, then 50, then hundreds. No music, no rhythm, just frantic, non-stop shaking until muscles tore and feet bled. People collapsed, convulsing, then jumped back up as if a puppet string pulled them. Priests tried exorcisms. Doctors blamed hot blood, but nothing stopped it. Several dancers dropped dead from exhaustion only to be carried away, while others kept dancing around the bodies. Mothers danced while holding babies. Old men twirled until their hearts burst. The madness lasted 4 weeks, turning the village into a living nightmare. And to this day, nobody knows what triggered it, a chemical reaction, mass hysteria, or something darker that refused to let them rest. Medieval Europe created horrors that even modern horror movies can't imagine. One of them was the Scold's Bridle, an iron mask shaped like a smiling face. But the inside hid a secret, a metal spike that stabbed the wearer's tongue, forcing it upward until speech became impossible. Women accused of gossip or talking too much were locked inside this mask and paraded through the town. Their tongues bled so heavily that trails of red followed them across the streets. Some choked to death when the spike severed the tongue completely. Others begged for mercy but could only produce muffled gargles. And the worst part, villagers were encouraged to laugh, mock, and spit on them. A smiling mask on the outside, pure agony on the inside. Medieval justice didn't just punish it, humiliated and destroyed. Egyptian pharaohs were treated like gods, but their servants paid the real price. When a pharaoh died, dozens of his closest slaves, guards, and concubines were drugged and sealed alive inside his tomb to serve him in the afterlife. Archaeologists found scratch marks on the inside of sarcophagi, deep gouges that showed they woke up too early. Some bodies were found curled in corners, arms over their heads, trying to breathe as oxygen ran out. Their final minutes were filled with darkness, panic, and the echo of stone doors sealing shut forever. The pharaoh got eternal glory. The servants got eternal silence. And historians realized the ancient world was far more brutal than they ever taught us in school. On a forgotten canal in Mexico sits an island where hundreds of dolls hang from trees' arms, missing, eyes cracked, hair tangled by wind. But the story behind it is even worse. A man living alone on the island believed he heard the cries of a girl who drowned nearby. To calm her spirit, he hung dolls everywhere. But the whispers never stopped. Visitors claimed the dolls' heads turned on their own. Some swore they heard laughter at night. Decades later, the man was found dead, floating in the exact same spot where the girl drowned. Locals think the island is cursed. Others say the doll still whispered to anyone who listens too closely. And tourists, they don't stay long. One European queen had a punishment worse than any execution. She built hunger chambers rooms sealed with stone doors and tiny air holes. Prisoners were locked inside with just enough water to keep them alive, but not a single bite of food. Some survived for 20 days. Their screams echoed through the castle walls until they grew too weak to stand. Guards reported that by the final days, prisoners forgot their own names. They crawled on hands and knees, clawing the stone floors. When the doors were finally opened, the bodies looked like twisted shadow skin sagging over bone, eyes sunken, mouths frozen mid-plea. The queen claimed she did it to preserve peace. But everyone knew it was cruelty disguised as power in Japan. A group of monks believed in a terrifying form of enlightenment, self-mummification. Over several years, they starved themselves, eating only tree bark and pine needles until their bodies became skeletal. Then, when they were finally near death, they climbed into a stone chamber, sat in a meditation pose, and ordered followers to seal it from the outside. Inside was a small pipe for air, but the monk had a bell. Every day, he rang it to show he was still alive. One day, the bell stopped. That meant the monk had died, and the pipe was removed, sealing him forever. Centuries later, explorers opened one chamber and found a perfectly preserved body skin tight, mouth frozen mid-breath, hands still folded in prayer. One medieval fortress earned a nickname, the Thirsting Walls. During sieges, so many soldiers died near the moat that the water turned thick and red. When the castle's stones absorbed the blood-soaked mud, they changed color permanently. Today, those stones still have a dark tint, like dried wine, but locals know the truth. Archaeologists found bones piled beneath the castle foundation, some with teeth marks suggesting soldiers resorted to cannibalism to survive the final weeks. Families waited for rescue that never came. Hunger drove them mad. By the time the gates fell, the survivors looked more like creatures than humans' eyes hollow, skin gray, voices barely human. The castle stands as a reminder. Starvation can turn even the noblest warriors into monsters. Before modern medicine, some doctors believed insanity came from evil expressions. One surgeon took this theory too far. He kept jars filled with preserved human faces, literally peeled from corpses. Each face was labeled with the emotion the person felt when they died: terror, rage, sorrow. Visitors to his study reported that the faces seemed to shift slightly when no one was looking. One jar cracked at night, and the face inside slowly unfolded like wet cloth. The doctor claimed he heard them whisper diagnoses. When he died, officials burned his house, but some jars were never found, and rumors say a few ended up in private collections, still intact, still staring.